The trade hub of Varro Station was alive with sound and light, a sprawl of metal corridors where dozens of alien species mingled with humans. The scent of oils, spices, and machine lubricant clung to the recycled air. For many, Varro's was a place of anonymity, where a traveler could vanish into the crowd. For Commander Elias Ward, anonymity was exactly what he wanted. After years serving in the border conflicts, he'd resigned his commission and drifted into quieter work, hauling cargo, repairing ships, and trying not to remember the faces of those he'd lost. It was supposed to be another ordinary stop. Deliver reactor coils, refuel, leave. But as he crossed the main concourse, he felt it, eyes watching him. He slowed, scanning the crowd. That's when he noticed her. She stood apart, her posture rigid, her features alien yet striking. Her skin shimmered faintly blue, her dark hair falling in braids interwoven with silver threads. She wore the flowing tunic of the Thalare, a species known for their acute senses. But what froze Elias wasn't her appearance. It was her expression. She was staring at him as though she'd seen a ghost. Then slowly she stepped closer. Her nostrils flared delicately as if tasting the air. "It is you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The scent of fire and metal. The human who saved me." Elias blinked. I'm sorry, have we met?" Her hands tightened at her sides. "Years ago, on Kaelora, you pulled me from the wreckage. Do you not remember?" Kaelora. The name hit him like a punch. He had been there, in the middle of a skirmish zone. A civilian shuttle had been hit during crossfire. He remembered smoke, screams, dragging bodies out of twisted metal. He hadn't stayed long enough to know who lived. And yet here she was. Middle. Her name was Lyra, and once Elias heard it, fragments returned to him. The crash site, her frightened eyes, his promise. "You'll live. Hold on." She invited him to sit with her in one of the quieter alcoves of the station. Despite the years, she remembered every detail. "I was just a child then," she said, her voice low. "Trapped under the wreckage. Everyone else had fled when the raiders came. But you smelled of burnt ozone and blood. And yet you lifted the beams and carried me out. That scent, it imprinted. My people never forget a scent tied to survival." Elias leaned back, unsettled. "Lyra, I saved a lot of people. Or I tried. I didn't think anyone would remember me. But I do," she insisted, leaning closer. "I searched the stars, wondering if I would ever meet you again. And now, here you are." There was a vulnerability in her eyes, but also strength. She had grown since Kaelora. Now she was not a child, but a woman, one who had lived through fire and chosen to remember. Elias felt a tangle of emotions, pride, guilt, and something deeper he dared not name. He had saved lives, yes, but he had also left so many behind. Lyra's gratitude was a light piercing a place he'd kept locked away. As they spoke, he learned she was more than a survivor. She was now part of the Thalare diplomatic corps, stationed on Varros to negotiate trade routes. But despite her title, she confessed she felt isolated. The Thalare valued perfection, strength, and unbroken lineage. To them, her survival had been a stain, an imperfection carried from childhood. "You are the only one who never saw me as broken," she said. "Even when I was helpless, you looked at me as if I still mattered." Elias's throat tightened. He had never thought of it that way. To him, saving her was instinct. To her, it was transformation. Their reunion might have ended as a fleeting moment, but fate rarely gave Elias peace for long. That night, alarms screamed through Varro Station. A fleet of raiders had emerged from slipspace, demanding tribute. The same faction, Lyra whispered, that had attacked Kaelora years ago. Elias cursed. He'd wanted to leave war behind. But as explosions rocked the station, he knew he couldn't walk away. Not when Lyra was here. Climax. The raiders stormed the outer ring, boarding the station. Panic spread as civilians fled deeper inside. Elias found himself moving with Lyra, his instincts returning as if no time had passed since his days in uniform. "We need to secure the power conduits," Elias said. "If they take those, the station is lost." Lyra nodded, following without hesitation. Her keen senses guided them through smoke-filled corridors, avoiding raider patrols. She caught scents Elias could not: gunpowder, coolant leaks, the acrid tang of burning circuits. At the conduits, they found a squad of raiders planting charges. Elias grabbed a discarded pulse rifle, his hands steady from long practice. The years fell away as he fought, not for duty, not for medals, but for survival and for her. Lyra fought too. Though unarmed at first, she moved with precision, her heightened awareness predicting enemy movements. She warned Elias seconds before an ambush, saving his life more than once. When the last raider fell, Lyra collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. "This feels like Kaelora again," she whispered. Elias turned, sweat streaking his face. "Except this time, you're not the one being carried. You're fighting beside me." Their eyes met in the flickering emergency lights. For a moment, the war around them faded. But then the floor shook violently. Detonations from the docking bay. The raiders were preparing to overload the station's reactor. "We have to stop them," Elias said grimly. "Or everyone dies." The final battle was chaos. Elias and Lyra fought through collapsing corridors, fire licking the walls. At the reactor chamber, they confronted the raider captain, a scarred brute who sneered at them. "You should have died on Kaelora, girl," he taunted Lyra. Her eyes blazed. "And you should never have crossed the one who saved me." Together, she and Elias fought with everything they had. His disciplined strikes, her uncanny awareness. At the last moment, when the captain lunged for Elias, Lyra threw herself between them, her body moving on instinct. She wasn't fast enough to avoid the blade entirely, but her sacrifice gave Elias the opening to end the fight. The captain fell. The reactor was secured. Varro Station lived. Ending. Later, in the quiet infirmary, Lyra lay with a bandaged side, the wound shallow but painful. Elias sat beside her, exhaustion etched into his face. "You shouldn't have done that," he muttered. "Taking a hit for me." She smiled faintly. "You carried me through fire once. It was only fair I return the gift." Elias let out a rough laugh, shaking his head. "You're impossible." Her hand reached for his. "No, Elias. I'm alive. Because of you. My people believe scent carries memory, that it binds us across years. When I first smelled you on this station, I knew I had found home again." His chest ached at her words. For years he had wandered, lost in guilt and silence. But here was someone who saw him not as a soldier or a failure, but as the man who had saved her life. Slowly, Elias squeezed her hand. "Then maybe it's time I stop running. Maybe it's time I stay." Lyra's smile deepened, her eyes shining. "Stay with me, human. Let the stars witness that not even war could erase the bond between us." And in that moment, amid the hum of Varro's station and the scars of battle, Elias felt something he hadn't in years: peace. The alien girl had recognized him not just by his scent, but by his soul. And though he had once carried her from the fire, it was she who now carried him back into the light.